The alarm bells rang across Kepler Station like thunder in the morning silence. Taman dropped his wrench and looked up from the engine he was fixing. The sound meant only one thing. Enemy ships were coming. He ran through the corridors of the Galactic Defense Academy with dozens of other cadets. Their boots made loud sounds on the metal floors. Some cadets looked scared. Others looked excited. Cayman felt both things at the same time. The academy was huge. It floated in space between 3 stars. Ships from many different worlds brought young people here to learn how to fight and protect the galaxy. Timon had been here for 2 years now. He was good with machines and engines. His teachers said he had special skills. In the main hall, Commander Vextar stood on a platform. The tall blue alien had 4 arms and eyes that glowed red when he was angry. Today, his eyes were very red. "Listen carefully," Commander Vextar said. His voice was deep and serious. "The Shadow Collective has attacked 3 colonies. They destroyed everything. No one survived. Their fleet is moving toward the core worlds." Kaiman felt cold. The Shadow Collective was the worst enemy the galaxy had ever seen. They came from dark space beyond the edge of known worlds. Tay took everything and left nothing behind. "We have no choice," the commander continued. "We must use the Void Breaker." Cadet in the hall became quiet. The Void Breaker was a legend. It was an ancient weapon left by the Precursors. The Precursors were a race that lived long ago. They were very smart and very powerful. Then they disappeared. No one knew where they went. The Void Breaker sat in the center of the academy like a sleeping giant. It was made of black crystal that was taller than 10 people. Strange symbols covered its surface. The crystal was supposed to destroy entire fleets with one shot. But no one had used it for 200 years. Tay-Min had seen the weapon many times. He had studied it in his engineering classes. The teacher said it was the most powerful weapon ever made, but they also said it was very dangerous to use. "We need a team," Commander Vextar said. "The weapon requires multiple operators. We have chosen the best cadets from each species." He started reading names. Taman heard his own name and felt his heart beat faster. He looked around and saw Sora and Hyunwoo. Sora was the smartest tactical student in their year. She could plan battles better than most teachers. Hyunwoo was the best pilot. He could fly any ship in the academy. The other chosen cadets were from different worlds. Qatar was from the Crystal People. She looked like living glass and could think very fast. Grok was from the Warrior world. He was big and strong and had green skin. Nyx was small and quick with purple fur and large ears. "Follow me," Commander Vextar said. The group walked through the academy to the weapon chamber. The room was round and very large. The Void Breaker stood in the center on a platform. Power cables ran from it to the walls. The air felt strange. Around it, it made Taman's skin feel like tiny insects were crawling on it. "The weapon needs psychic connection," Commander Vextar explained. "You must link your minds together and channel power through the crystal." The Precursors designed it to respond to pure mental energy. Dr. Zilkin stepped forward. She was the Academy's chief scientist. She had gray skin and tentacles instead of hair. She was very old and very smart. "The process is dangerous," she said. "The weapon draws power from your life force. Some operators have died trying to use it, but we have no choice. The Shadow Collective must be stopped." The cadets took their positions around the weapon. There were special chairs in a circle around the crystal. Each chair had wires and sensors. Came and sat down and felt the cold metal against his back. "Close your eyes," Dr. Zilkin said. "Clear your minds. Think only of the weapon. Feel its power." Taman closed his eyes and tried to feel the weapon's energy. He had good instincts with machines. He could usually sense how they worked, but the Void Breaker felt different. It felt empty, like a machine that had no power source. Can sense something, Beltor said. Her voice sounded far away. Okay, but it is very weak. Focus harder, Dr. Zilkin said. The weapon is responding. Okay. I can see energy patterns on my instruments. Cayman concentrated with all his strength. He tried to push his thoughts into the crystal. Around him, the other cadets were doing the same thing. He could feel their minds touching his. It was a strange feeling. Minutes passed, then hours. The cadets took turns trying different combinations. Sometimes 3 people would link together, sometimes all 7. They tried different mental patterns. They tried thinking about different things. Nothing worked. The crystal stayed dark and cold. The power readings on Dr. Zilkin's instruments stayed at 0. The weapon would not respond, no matter what they did. This is impossible, Dr. Zilkin said. She looked worried. The weapon should activate. We followed all the old procedures. Commander Vextar paced around the room. His red eyes were brighter now. The enemy fleet will be here in 18 hours. We need this weapon to work. KB, we are doing something wrong, Sora said. She was always calm and logical. The procedures are very old. Perhaps we misunderstood something. No, Dr. Zilkin said. We have studied these procedures for decades. We know how the weapon should work, but it simply will not respond. Taman stood up from his chair. His legs felt weak from sitting for so long. He walked closer to the crystal and put his hand on its surface. It was cold and smooth. He could feel the complex patterns carved into it. There is something wrong with the weapon itself, he said. It feels empty inside. Like a car with no engine. That is impossible, Dr. Zilkin said. The weapon has been maintained for centuries. All systems show normal readings. But normal readings? For what? Taman asked. We do not really understand how precursor technology works. We only know how to maintain it. The other cadets gathered around the crystal. They touched its surface and tried to feel what Taman was describing. He is right, Beltar said. Tata crystal has structure but no essence. It is like a body with no soul. Commander Vextar's communicator buzzed. He answered it and listened. His face became darker. The Shadow Collective has destroyed 2 more colonies, he said. They are moving faster than we thought. We have 12 hours, not 18. Dr. Zilkin looked at her instruments again. She pressed buttons and checked readings. I do not understand. Everything shows the weapon should work, but it refuses to activate. Maybe the weapon is too old, Hien Wu suggested. Even the best machines break down after thousands of years. Or maybe, Sora said slowly, the weapon was never meant for US to use. Everyone looked at her. Akiva. She was staring at the crystal with a thoughtful expression. What do you mean? Commander Vextar asked. The precursors designed this weapon for themselves, Sora said. Their minds were different from ours. Their energy patterns were different. Maybe the weapon only responds to precursor psychic signatures. But the precursors are gone, Grok said. His voice was deep and rumbling. They disappeared long ago. Exactly, Sora said. So, their weapon cannot work anymore. The room became very quiet. Outside, through the large windows, they could see the stars. Somewhere out there, the Shadow Collective was coming. Their dark ships carried weapons that could destroy entire worlds. Must evacuate the academy, Commander Vextar said finally. If the weapon will not work, we cannot defend against the enemy fleet. No, Taman said. Everyone looked at him. We cannot run away. There has to be another solution. What other solution? Dr. Zilkin asked. This weapon is our only hope. Taman looked at the crystal again. Then he looked at his friends. Sara was thinking hard. Hien Wu was checking his datapad. Even the alien cadets looked determined. Maybe we do not need their weapon, Taman said. Maybe we can build our own. Commander Vexter stared at Taman like he had said something crazy. The other teachers in the weapon chamber whispered to each other in their alien languages. Dr. Zilkin shook her head, and her tentacles moved in a worried pattern. "Build our own weapon," Commander Vextar said. "Young cadet, do you understand what you are suggesting? The precursors were the most advanced race in galactic history. Our technology is beyond our understanding, but their weapon does not work," Taman replied. He kept his voice calm and steady. "We have 12 hours before the enemy arrives. Can spend that time trying to fix something that may be impossible to fix. Or we can try to build something new." Dr. Zilkin walked closer to Timon. The large eyes looked sad. "Child, I have studied precursor technology for 40 years. Barely understand how to maintain their devices. Creating new technology at their level would take decades, maybe centuries." "Then we do not try to match their level," Sara said. She had been quiet, but now she stepped forward. "We tried to match their results." The teachers looked confused. Sora continued talking. "The Voidbreaker is designed to destroy enemy fleets with one shot. That is the result we need. Okay, but maybe there are other ways to destroy enemy fleets. Ways that use technology we actually understand." Hyan Wu nodded. "Like multiple smaller weapons working together, or a weapon that can fire many times instead of once." Veltar made a sound like glass chimes. It was how her people showed agreement. The crystal people have a saying: "When the mountain will not move, build a bridge around it." Quag hit his fist against his palm. "The warrior way is simple. If one big weapon fails, use many small weapons." Commander Vextar looked at the group of cadets. "Even if this was possible, we do not have the resources. Building a weapon requires materials, power sources, manufacturing facilities. We have the Academy workshop," Taman said. "We have the salvage yards. K. We have the training equipment. We have the reactor that powers the station. And we have something the precursors never had," Sora added. "We have people from many different worlds working together. Humans, Zephyrians, the Kyrians. Each species thinks differently. Each has different strengths." Dr. Zilkin looked at her instruments again. "The energy readings from the Voidbreaker are still 0. It truly appears to be non-functional." "Then we have nothing to lose by trying," Taman said. Commander Vexter was quiet for a long moment. His red eyes dimmed as he thought. Finally, he spoke. "The Academy leadership is meeting to discuss evacuation. They will not approve this plan. It sounds too dangerous and too impossible." "Then we do not ask for approval," Sora said. "We just do it." "That would be against regulations," Commander Vextar said. But he did not sound like he was refusing. T sounded like he was thinking. "Sir," Hyan Wu said, "what are the regulations worth if everyone dies?" Commander Vexter looked at each of the cadets. Then he looked at the dark crystal that refused to work. Finally, he looked at Dr. Zilkin. "How long do we have?" he asked. "It's 11 hours and 47 minutes, Dr. Zilkin replied. "That is not enough time," Commander Vextar said. "It is enough time to try," Taman said. Commander Vextar made a decision. "I will give you access to the workshop and the salvage yards. Dr. Zilkin will monitor the approaching fleet. I will handle the leadership meetings and try to delay the evacuation order." "Thank you, sir," Taman said. "Do not thank me yet," Commander Vexter replied. "Thank me if you succeed. If you fail, we will all be dead anyway." The cadets left the weapon chamber and headed toward the workshop levels. The academy was huge, with many sections for different purposes. The workshop levels were in the lower part of the station. They contained machines for building and repairing equipment. As they walked, Taman thought about what they needed to do. Building a weapon was one thing. Building a weapon that could destroy an entire fleet was much harder. "We need to understand what we are fighting," Sara said. She was reading information on her datapad. The Shadow Collective uses heavy armor. and energy shields. Their ships are designed to absorb damage. Think we need a weapon that can break through heavy armor, Hien Wu said. Or many weapons that can overwhelm their shields, Veltar suggested. They reached the workshop level. The corridors here were wider to allow large equipment to move through. The air smelled like metal and oil. Taman felt more comfortable here. This was where he belonged. The main workshop was enormous. It contained machines for cutting, welding, and shaping metal. There were tools for working with electronics and power systems. Storage areas held parts and materials from old ships. This is where we start, Taman said. The cadets spread out to examine what was available. Taman looked at the power systems. The academy had a large reactor that provided energy for the entire station. He could tap into that power if he was careful. Sora studied the structural materials. There were hull plates from decommissioned warships, support beams from old space stations, even some pieces from ships that had been destroyed in battles. Hien Wu examined the control systems. There were computers and sensors from many different types of ships. Some were old but still functional. Others were damaged but could be repaired. Veltar found energy focusing crystals. They were not as powerful as precursor crystals, but they could direct energy beams. Her people made these crystals, so she understood how to use them. Grok discovered weapon components. There were plasma cannons that no longer worked, missile launchers that were too old to be safe, laser arrays that had been removed from ships. Nix found electronic parts, wires, circuits, processors, and memory units. Were considered junk, but many could still be useful. We have materials, Taman said after an hour of searching. But we need a plan. Sora had been thinking. The precursor weapon was designed for one massive shot. Our weapon should be designed for flexibility. We need something that can adapt. 2 different situations. A modular system, Pianawu said. Parts that can be connected in different ways. Yes, Taman said. Like building blocks, can arrange them based on what we need. Velta made her chiming sound again. Mind people build this way. Many small crystals working together can be stronger than one large crystal. If one part breaks, the others still work. Grok added. Tay-Min started drawing on a large screen. We built a network of energy nodes. Each node can collect power from the reactor. The nodes can work together or separately. We connect them with focusing crystals, Velter said. The crystals can direct the energy where it needs to go, and we use multiple control systems, Hien Wu added. Each species can operate the parts they understand best. Sora was calculating on her datapad. We need at least 12 nodes to generate enough power. Each node needs its own power source, focusing crystal, and control system. That is a lot of work, Nick said. Her voice was high and quick. Can we build all that in 11 hours? We have to, Taman said, but we do not have to do it alone. Looked at his friends. We need help. The cadets who are good with their hands. People who want to fight instead of run. I know many cadets who will help, Grok said. Warriors do not like to retreat. The engineering students will help too, Hien Wu said. They love building things. And the technical support staff, Velter added. They know where all the best materials are hidden. Sora was still calculating. If we can get 50 people working, we might have enough hands. But we need to be organized. It's no wasted effort. You organize the people, Taman said to Sora. You are the best at planning. Hien Wu, you handle the control systems. Veltar, you work on the energy focusing. Grok, you manage the heavy construction. Nix, you handle all the small electronic parts. What will you do? Sora asked. Taman looked at the drawing on the screen. I will design the power systems and make sure everything works together. The cadets split up to gather help and materials. Within an hour, the workshop was full of people, humans, aliens, teachers, and students, all working together. The sound of tools and machines filled the air. Tay-men stood in the center of it all, coordinating the work. For the first time since the alarms had started, he felt hopeful. They might not have ancient technology, but they had something else. They had determination and the willingness to try something new. Outside, the enemy fleet was getting closer. But inside the workshop, a new weapon was being born. The workshop became a place of organized chaos. 50 people worked through the night, their voices mixing with the sounds of cutting torches and welding equipment. Taman moved from group to group, checking progress and solving problems. Node 7 needs more power cables, called out Jinwoo, a second-year engineering student. He was covered in oil and sweat, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Use the cables from the old training simulators, Taman replied. They carry the same voltage. Near the back of the workshop, Veltar worked with 3 other Zephyrians. They were polishing, focusing crystals until they gleamed like stars. The crystals had to be perfect to direct the energy properly. Even a small flaw could cause the whole system to fail. The crystals are ready for nodes 1 through 4, Veltar announced. Next. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Taman said. How long for the rest? 2 hours, Veltar replied. Maybe less if we work faster. Across the workshop, Grok supervised the heavy construction. His team was building the support frames that would hold the energy nodes. The frames had to be strong enough to handle the power, but light enough to move quickly. This frame is bent, Grok said, pointing to a metal structure. The energy will not flow properly. We can fix it, said Nari, a human cadet who was skilled in metalworking. Give me 10 minutes with the straightening tools. No, Grok said. 10 minutes is too long. We build a new one. Speed is more important than saving materials. Taman nodded. Grok was right. They had plenty of materials, but very little time. It was better to build fast than to build perfectly. Sora stood at a central table, covered with plans and calculations. She tracked the progress of each team and made sure everyone knew what to do next. Her datapad showed the approaching enemy fleet. They were still 8 hours away, but that time was passing quickly. Team 5 finished the power couplings, she announced. Team 8 needs help with the energy conduits. I will send to people, Taman said. He looked around the workshop. Minho, Jae-sung, helped Team 8. The 2 human cadets nodded and hurried across the workshop. They carried their tools and moved with purpose. Everyone in the workshop moved the same way. Fast, but careful. Urgent, but not panicked. Hyen-woo worked on the control systems. He had connected computers from 6 different ship types. The computers were old and used different programming languages, but Hyen-woo was making them work together. The main targeting system is online, he reported. But the navigation interface is still giving me trouble. What kind of trouble? Taman asked. That the carrying computer wants to dominate the other systems. It keeps trying to take control of everything. Grok laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound. Carrion technology is like the carrion people. Very stubborn and likes to be in charge. Can you make it cooperate? Kaiman asked Hyen-woo. I think so. I just need to convince it that the other computers are not enemies. Taman moved to the power distribution center. This was his main responsibility. The weapon needed enormous amounts of energy, and it all had to be controlled precisely. Too little power, and the weapon would not work. Too much power, and it would explode. The main power lines are ready, reported Young Jin, a 4th-year engineering student. But I am worried about the safety systems. What kind of safety systems? Taman asked. If something goes wrong, the power could overload the station's reactor. We could lose main power to the entire academy. Taman thought about this. Losing power would be bad, but losing the battle would be worse. We need manual cutoff switches. If there's a problem, we can shut down the weapon quickly. That means someone has to stay at the power center during the battle, Young Jin said. It could be dangerous. I will do it, Taman said. It is my design. I should be the one to control it. Young Jin nodded and went back to work. Taemin looked at the power distribution board. Dozens of lights showed the status of different systems. Most were green, which meant they were working properly. A few were yellow, which meant they needed attention. None were red yet, which was good. Nyx worked with the electronic components. Her small fingers were perfect for detailed work. She connected tiny wires and programmed microcircuits with amazing speed. The sensor arrays are working, she reported. But the communication between nodes is still unstable. What do you need? Taemin asked. Better signal processors. The ones we have are too slow. Taemin thought about where to find better processors. Then he remembered something. Use the processors from the Academy's main computer, he said. We can borrow them for a few hours, but that will affect the station's operations, Nyx said. The station will not matter if we lose the battle, Taemin replied. Nyx nodded and scurried away to get the processors. Taemin watched her go and felt proud. All the cadets were working beyond their normal limits. They were solving problems he had not even thought of. The night continued. People took short breaks to eat and rest, but the work never stopped. When someone got tired, another person took their place. The workshop operated like a single organism with many parts. At 3 a.m, the first major test began. Taemin, ACTIV, ATED, Node 1 with minimum power. The energy flowed through the focusing crystal and created a beam of light. The beam was weak, but it was stable. Node 1 is functional, he announced. Everyone in the workshop cheered, but there was no time to celebrate. They tested each node as it was completed. Node 2 worked perfectly. Node 3 had a power fluctuation problem. Node 4 worked, but made strange noises. We need to fix Node 3, Taemin said. The fluctuation will affect the other nodes. I will check the power couplings, said Minjae, a human cadet who understood electrical systems. I will examine the focusing crystal, Veltar added. They found the problem quickly. A power cable had been damaged during installation. It took 30 minutes to replace it, but then Node 3 worked perfectly. Node 4 was more difficult. The strange noises came from the support frame. It was vibrating at the wrong frequency. Grok's team had to rebuild part of the frame, which took 2 hours. We are behind schedule, Sora reported. The enemy fleet is 6 hours away, and we still have 8 nodes to test. We test them as we finish them, Taemin said. We do not wait for perfection. The work continued. More nodes came online. The weapon began to take shape. It looked nothing like the elegant precursor crystal. Instead, it looked like what it was, a collection of salvaged parts held together by determination and clever engineering. But it was working. The energy readings were strong. The targeting systems were accurate. The control interfaces responded to commands from multiple species. As dawn approached, the alien cadets began to understand something important. They had grown up believing that the best technology came from ancient wisdom and perfect understanding. But the humans showed them a different way. The humans built things that worked, not things that were perfect. They used whatever materials they could find. They solved problems as they appeared. They were not afraid to try new ideas. Your species is very strange, Veltar said to Taemin during a short break. You do not wait to understand everything before you act. Understanding is good, Taemin replied. But sometimes there is no time to understand. Sometimes you have to act first and understand later. That seems dangerous, Veltar said. Maybe, Taemin said, but not acting is also dangerous. The precursor weapon does not work because we tried to understand it completely. Our weapon works because we focused on making it work. Veltar made her chiming sound. I think I am beginning to understand human engineering. What do you understand? Taman asked. You do not build things the way they should be built. You build them the way they need to be built. Taman smiled. That is exactly right. The sun rose over Kepler Station. Through the workshop windows, they could see the first light touching the solar panels. It was a beautiful sight, but everyone knew it might be the last sunrise they would see. 4 hours until the enemy arrives, Sora announced. How many nodes are ready? K nodes are fully operational, Taman replied. 2 more are almost ready. Is that enough? Grok asked. Will have to be, Taman said. We are out of time. The workshop had become quiet. The frantic pace of the night was over. Now came the final preparations. The weapon was almost complete, but no one knew if it would work when they needed it most. Time to move the nodes into position, Taman said. The real test is about to begin. The weapon looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. 12 energy nodes surrounded the academy in a wide circle. Each node was different because they were built from whatever materials were available. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. They were connected by thick power cables and thin communication wires. Tay-men stood in the main control room, looking at the screens that showed each node. Green lights meant the nodes were ready. Yellow lights meant they needed attention. So far, all the lights were green. Final systems check, he announced over the communication system. Node 1 ready, came Jin Woo's voice from across the station. Node 2 ready, reported Na-RI.1 by 1. All 12 teams confirmed their nodes were working. Taman felt his heart beating fast. Tay had built the weapon, but they still did not know if it would actually work in battle. Commander Vexter entered the control room. Tejas looked tired, but he seemed proud. The academy leadership wanted to evacuate. I convinced them to wait and see what you accomplished. Thank you, sir, Taman said. Do not thank me yet, Commander Vexter replied. The enemy fleet just entered sensor range. We have 1 hour before they reach attack position. Sora was at the main tactical display. The screen showed red dots moving toward the academy. There were many red dots, more than Taman had expected. 47 enemy ships, Sora reported. 3 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 32 fighter craft. Can our weapon handle that many ships? Hyen Wu asked. He was nervous, and his voice showed it. We are about to find out, Taman said. Dr. Zilkin hurried into the control room. She looked excited and worried at the same time. I have been analyzing your weapon design. It is very interesting, very different from anything we have seen before. Different how? Taman asked. Traditional weapons focus all their power into one attack. Your weapon can split its power many different ways. It can attack multiple targets or combine all its energy against one large target. That was the idea, Sora said. We wanted flexibility, but there is something else, Dr. Zilkin continued. The way you connected the different technologies creates new possibilities. The Zafrian crystals are enhancing the Thicarian power systems. The human engineering is making everything work together in ways that should not be possible. Veltar made her chiming sound. In crystal theory, this is called harmonic resonance. When different frequencies work together, they can create effects stronger than the sum of their parts. English, please, Grok said. His deep voice sounded confused. It means our weapon might be more powerful than we planned, Taman explained. Or it might explode, Dr. Zilkin added. There are too many unknown factors. An alarm sounded. The enemy fleet was getting closer. Taman looked at the tactical display. The red dots were moving into attack formation. It's time for the first test, he said. Low power, single node. Taman activated node 1 at minimum power. Energy flowed through the system and created a thin beam of light. The beam shot out into space and hit a piece of space debris. The debris glowed for a moment and then broke apart. Node 1 confirmed working, Taman reported. Now, test multiple nodes, Sara suggested. TA-Min activated nodes 1, 2, and 3 together. 3 beams of energy combined into one larger beam. This beam was much brighter and stronger, and it hit another piece of debris. The debris completely vaporized. Impressive, Commander Vexter said. But the enemy ships have armor and shields. Space debris is much easier to destroy. Then we test on something harder, Taman said. He looked at the tactical display. There was an old, damaged ship floating near the academy. It had been scheduled for recycling. Now it would serve as a target. All nodes, 50% power, Taman commanded. Energy flowed through all 12 nodes. Atia, the beams combined into one massive stream of light. When it hit the old ship, the result was spectacular. The ship's shields flared and collapsed. The armor melted like ice in a fire. In 3 seconds, the ship was completely destroyed. Everyone in the control room was quiet. The weapon was much more powerful than they had expected. That ship was the same class as the enemy destroyers, Sora said quietly. Meaning what? Grok asked. Meaning we can destroy their destroyers with one shot, Sora replied. Dr. Zilkin was checking her instruments. The power readings are extraordinary. The harmonic resonance is amplifying the energy output by a factor of 3. The different technologies are making each other stronger, Veltar explained, like singers in a choir. Each voice alone is beautiful, but together they create something magnificent. Commander Vextar's communicator buzzed. He listened for a moment, then looked grave. The enemy fleet is accelerating. They will be in weapons range in 20 minutes. Are we ready? Taman asked his team. Weapon systems are green, Hyanwu reported. Targeting computers are locked on, Nix added. All nodes are at full power, Youngjin confirmed. Tactical analysis complete, Sora said. I have identified the optimal firing sequence. Taman nodded. Then we are as ready as we can be. The next 15 minutes felt like hours. The enemy fleet grew larger on the screens. The Shadow Collective ships were dark and threatening. Their hulls were black metal, covered with weapon ports. They moved in perfect formation, like a swarm of deadly insects. They are not trying to communicate, Commander Vextar observed. I'm here to destroy everything. That makes this easier, Sara said. No negotiations, no warnings, just battle. Enemy fleet entering weapons range, Dr. Zilkin announced. The first enemy shots appeared on the screens. Bright bolts of energy flew toward the academy. The station's shields absorbed the impacts, but the shields would not last long against so many weapons. Return fire, Commander Vexter ordered. All nodes, full power, target the lead cruiser. Taman commanded. The improvised weapon fired for the first time in actual combat. 12 beams of energy combined into one brilliant stream of destruction. The beam crossed space in an instant and struck the enemy cruiser. The result was even more impressive than the test. The cruiser's shields collapsed immediately. Its armor melted away like paper in a flame. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as its power systems overloaded. In 5 seconds, the massive warship was gone. The remaining enemy ships hesitated. They had expected to face the ancient precursor weapon or conventional defenses. They had not expected this. Target the second cruiser, Sora ordered. But before Taman could fire, the enemy ships changed formation. They spread out to make themselves harder to target. Some ships moved to attack the academy from different angles. They are adapting, Sora observed. Smart enemies. Then we adapted, Taman said. Split fire. Nodes 1 through 6 target the second cruiser. Nodes 7 through 12 target the destroyer squadron. This was the real test of their design. Could the weapon attack multiple targets at the same time? The precursor weapon could only fire at one target, but the weapon was built differently. Energy flowed through the system in 2 separate streams. 6 nodes combined their power to destroy the second cruiser. The other 6 nodes created a spread of smaller beams that swept through the destroyer squadron. The destroyers tried to dodge, but there were too many beams. 4 destroyers were destroyed instantly. 2 more were badly damaged. The remaining destroyers broke formation and fled. "It works," Hyan-Woo said with amazement. "The weapon actually works." But the battle was not over. The 3rd cruiser and the fighter squadrons were still attacking. The Academy's shields were weakening under the constant bombardment. "We need to end this quickly," Commander Vextar said. Date-Min looked at the tactical display. The remaining enemies were spread across a wide area. Conventional weapon could not hit them all at once. "Sara, can we target all the remaining ships?" he asked. Sara studied her screens. "Not with conventional targeting, but if we modify the beam patterns." "Do it," Taemin said. Sora's fingers flew over her controls. "Instead of focusing the beams into points, we spread them into a cone, like a giant net of energy." "Will that work?" Veltar asked. "Only one way to find out," Taemin replied. "All nodes, maximum power, wide dispersal pattern." The weapon fired its most ambitious shot yet. Instead of focused beams, it created a wide cone of energy that swept across space like a giant broom. Every enemy ship in the cone was caught by the attack. The fighter craft were destroyed instantly. The damaged destroyers exploded. Even the 3rd cruiser, with its heavy armor and shields, could not survive the overwhelming energy in 30 seconds. The entire enemy fleet was gone. The control room was silent, except for the sound of cooling systems and computer fans. Everyone stared at the tactical display, which now showed only empty space where the enemy fleet had been. "Did we really just do that?" Nyx asked in her high, quick voice. "We did," Taemin said. He could hardly believe it himself. Commander Vextar looked at the displays showing the weapon nodes. All lights were still green. The improvised weapon had performed better than anyone had dared to hope. "I must send a report to Fleet Command," he said. "They will want to know about this weapon." "What will you tell them?" Sora asked. Commander Vextar smiled. It was the first time Taemin had seen him smile. "I will tell them that human cadets built a weapon overnight that outperformed technology from the most advanced race in galactic history." The celebration in the control room was quiet, but deep. No one cheered or shouted. They were all too amazed by what had happened. The enemy fleet that should have destroyed them was gone. So the weapon they had built in one night had worked better than anyone had dreamed possible. Commander Vextar received reports from across the Academy. "No damage to the station. All personnel are safe. The weapon nodes are still fully operational." "Sir," Sora said, "we are receiving communication requests from the outer colonies. Word is spreading about the victory." "And from Fleet Command," Dr. Zilkin added. "They want a full report on the weapon system." Taemin looked out the window at the debris field where the enemy fleet used to be. It was hard to believe they had done this. A few hours ago, he had been fixing engines in the workshop. Now he had helped build a weapon that could change everything. "There is something else," Dr. Zilkin said. She was studying readings from the ancient void breaker. "When your weapon fired, the precursor crystal showed a brief energy response." "What kind of response?" Taemin asked. "For exactly 3 seconds. The crystal registered power levels. Then it went dark again." Everyone looked at each other. This was unexpected. "Maybe the crystal was reacting to our weapon," Veltar suggested. "Harmonic resonance can affect nearby crystals." "Or maybe," Sora said thoughtfully, "the precursor weapon was trying to analyze what we built." Commander Vextar's communicator buzzed again. This time his expression became serious as he listened. "What is it?" Taemin asked. "Long-range sensors have detected another Shadow Collective fleet. Much larger than the first one. They are 3 days away. The celebration mood disappeared instantly. Everyone realized that their victory might only be the beginning. How many ships? Sarah asked. 237 vessels, Commander Vextar replied, including 12 heavy cruisers and 4 dreadnought-class ships. Can our weapon handle that many enemies? Hyanwu asked. Tay-Min thought about it. Their weapon was powerful, but it had limits. The Academy's reactor could only provide so much energy. The focusing crystals could only handle so much power before they burned out. Not as it is now, he said honestly. We would need more nodes, more power, better coordination. How long would that take? Commander Vextar asked. Weeks, maybe months, Taemin replied. We did not have that much time. Zilkan was thinking. Unless we could replicate the weapon at other locations? If every major station and planet had a similar defense system. But that would require teaching other people how to build it, Sora said. And they would need the same materials and expertise. Not necessarily, Taemin said. An idea was forming in his mind. What if we made the design modular? What if any station could build their own version using whatever materials they have? Explain, Commander Vextar, said Tay-Min, moved to the design screen. Our weapon works because different technologies support each other, but the specific technologies do not matter. Spherian crystals work with the carrion power systems. But maybe Viridian amplifiers would work with human reactors, or Altarian energy cores with Centauri focusing arrays. Veltar made her understanding sound. You mean, create a template that can be adapted to local resources and technologies. Exactly, Taemin said. Every world and station has different materials available. Every species has different technological strengths. But the basic principles can be the same. A universal defense system, Sora said. Not one weapon, but thousands of weapons, all based on the same ideas. That is brilliant, Dr. Zilkan said. But it would require unprecedented cooperation between different worlds and species. The Shadow Collective threat affects everyone, Commander Vextar pointed out. If we are all in danger, maybe we can all work together. Over the next few hours, the idea grew into a plan. Teams of engineers and scientists from the Academy would travel to different worlds. They would teach local people how to build their own versions of the weapon. This world would adapt the design to their own materials and capabilities. We call it the Network Defense Project, Sora suggested. Each world becomes a node in a galaxy-wide defense system. The plan was ambitious. It would require trust between species that had never worked together before. It would require sharing technologies that some worlds kept secret. It would require everyone to put aside their differences and focus on survival. But it was possible. The battle had proved that different technologies could work together in ways no one had expected. If Zephyrian crystals could enhance the Carrion power systems, then maybe Zephyrian and Thacarian people could work together too. I will contact Fleet Command, Commander Vextar said. They will need to approve this project, and I will start documenting the weapon design, Dr. Zilkan added. We need clear instructions that any engineer can follow. What about us? Anwu asked. What do the cadets do? You teach, Taemin said. You go to different worlds and show them what we learned here. You help them build their own weapons. But we are just students, Nick said. Who will listen to us? Everyone will listen, Sarah said, because you did something that was supposed to be impossible. You built a weapon that defeated an entire enemy fleet in one night. The weeks that followed were busy beyond imagination. The Network Defense Project was approved by every major government in the galaxy. The threat from the Shadow Collective was too great for anyone to refuse. Cooperation.T-Min found himself traveling to distant worlds, teaching engineers and scientists the principles behind their weapon. Each world was different. Each had its own challenges and resources, On the crystal world of Zephyr Prime, they built weapons using pure crystal technology. The focusing arrays were more precise than anything the Academy had achieved. On the Forge world of Thorkara, they built weapons using massive industrial power systems. The energy output was enormous, but the weapons were too large to move. On the Garden world of Verdania, they built weapons using organic technology. Living plants guided energy flows with incredible efficiency. Each world added its own innovations to the basic design. The network became stronger because each node was different. There was no single point of failure. No one strategy could defeat all the weapons at once. The alien engineers were amazed by the human approach to problem solving. Humans did not wait until they understood everything perfectly. They built something that worked and then improved it. They were not afraid to try new combinations of old technologies. Your species thinks differently, Veltar told Taman during one of their teaching missions. Most races try to perfect one technology before moving to the next. Humans combine imperfect technologies to create perfect solutions. Maybe that is why the precursor weapon did not work for us, Taman replied. They built one perfect tool for their specific needs. We built many imperfect tools that can adapt to any situation. When the second Shadow Collective fleet arrived, they found a galaxy that was ready for them. 300 worlds had built their own versions of the Academy's weapon. The network was active and coordinated. The battle was not even close. The Thigany fleet was destroyed before it could attack. A single target. The network defense project had worked beyond all expectations. But the greatest victory was not military. It was social. For the first time in galactic history, hundreds of different species were working together as equals. They were sharing knowledge and resources freely. They were building something together that none of them could build alone. The ancient Voidbreaker still sat in the Academy's weapon chamber, but now it was a museum piece. It's a reminder of how things used to be done. Students from many worlds came to see it and learn about the old ways. Next to it, they had built a small replica of their improvised weapon. It was made from scraps and salvaged parts, just like the original. A sign next to it read, "Sometimes the newest ideas are better than the oldest wisdom." Taman often visited the weapon chamber during his time at the Academy. He would look at the ancient crystal and the improvised device side by side. Both were impressive in their own ways, but only one represented the future. The future belonged to those who were willing to try new things, to those who could work together despite their differences, to those who built bridges instead of walls. The future belonged to cooperation, innovation, and the courage to believe that impossible things were possible. Sora became the first director of the Network Defense Project. She coordinated the galaxy-wide system and planned for new threats. Her tactical mind was perfect for thinking on such a large scale. Hien Wu became a traveling instructor, teaching control systems to engineers across the galaxy. His ability to work with different technologies made him invaluable. Veltar returned to her home world but maintained her connection to the network. She helped develop new focusing technologies that made the weapons even more effective. Grok became a construction supervisor, helping worlds build the heavy infrastructure needed for the larger weapon systems. Nyx specialized in communication systems, ensuring that all the nodes in the network could coordinate their actions. And Taman continued to invent. He developed new designs and improvements to the basic weapon system, but more importantly, he kept the spirit of innovation alive. He reminded everyone that there was always a better way to do things if you were brave enough to try.